My name is Samuel actually. BD, its origin, if I can just speak about that. You know, the Group Areas Act, this horrible piece of legislation that displaced people, you know, in an inhumane way, was at its peak in the 70s, 1970s. And people were, I'm talking about colored people, were moved from places like Southend. That's where my grandparents and my mother grew up, and her sisters and everybody, where I was born. So out of that tragedy, children moved from those areas, had to be moved to new schools. There were two new schools that were built with the closure of Southend High and Willowdean and St. Thomas. One was BD, Bethelsdorp High, and the other one was Arcadia High School, which were built in that area. Brand new schools, although it's prefabricated buildings, you know. Mr. Ricks became the principal. He came from Willowdean. Raymond Uren came from Southend. Lenny Marks came from Willowdean. I think Paula Renz and Chris Stanbauer also came from Southend. I'm not too sure about that. And that is how the school actually had started. BD opened in Falkers Road, Salt Lake, as you know. Raymond Uren took over as principal in 1974, actually. Then he started as principal. But the people that I met there were, I'm going to read a couple of names for you. There were Mr. Ricks, obviously, was the principal. Mr. Raymond Uren was the deputy principal, senior deputy. Mr. Lennox March was the junior deputy. Two of the heads of department at that time were Mr. Arthur Renz and Mr. Sandbowers. Those are the four guys I remember very distinctly with the top structure. There was Roderick Peffer, original members, and principal of BD later.
I was one of the foundation members. We moved in July 72 to an unfinished building. Things like the walkways were not laid yet. So to move from one block to another, you had to go through a mud path. And it rained during the first week of that third quarter. So the school was quite messed up. Another thing I can add, teachers, and I was probably one of them, we shouted when we taught because there was drilling going on outside all the time and you had to compete with the drilling. Mr. Ricks was in the principal.
Wat gaan jy aan? Klas toe. Klas toe. Ooh, what next?
Now report to your classes immediately.
Okay man, ek hoop julle beklei nou nie weer nie, né? Nou nie weer dat sien nie.
The period of student unrest, the 1976 student unrest, It united the school and the students even more. We regularly had protest marches. One that I can recall is on one day the students refused to go to a class, marched around the school, had a burial ceremony. They said they were burying apartheid today. Another incident I can recall, in the morning the special branch would pop around to check what's the situation at the school. And one morning students had marched to Dawa. All the high schools in the northern areas were protesting at Dawa. And the special branch had given Mr. Uren 2 hours to get his students back to his school or face the consequences. I was one of those teachers who had to go and fetch them and persuade them and march them back to school. Eventually we did. The biggest challenge is rationalization, or was rationalization, in which schools had to reduce their staffs quite radically. And the department, the education department, put the ball into the hands of the school. They had to, the principal with his staff, had to decide who was going to be transferred and who was going to be retrenched. It caused conflict that I don't think we ever experienced before in the school. It split schools, it split the unity of schools, it split the cohesion schools had. And Bethelsdorp, like all other schools, suffered heavily under this concept of rationalization.
I was born in Southend, in PE, but I grew up in a little place called Fort Beaufort. Both my parents were teachers. Every one of my siblings are teachers. We were 6 brothers and 1 sister. Most of them married to teachers. So it was almost a natural thing, you know, at the time under apartheid. There weren't many options. Either you become a tradesman or you become a teacher, or if you're a woman, you became a nurse or a teacher, you know. I went to the University of the Western Cape first, and after 2 years I decided to leave, and I went to Dawa College and I completed my 2-year teacher certificate. I had then decided to go back to UWC to go and do my degree, because I thought I was mature enough at that time, you know. And on the night that I was supposed to leave from PE to Cape Town with my late brother Billy, who also taught, by the way, at Bethelsdorp High, the security police visited me and gave me a warning. If you set your foot on the campus, we're going to arrest you, you know, because I'd been involved in student leadership at Dawa and in politics, obviously. And strangely enough, that very day, I met an old friend of mine, a guy who was at Dawa as well, by the name of Roderick Peffer. And he asked me, what are you doing in PE? I was explaining to him that the visit of the security police, and that I couldn't go to Cape Town any longer. And I was looking for a post. Roderick tapped me on the shoulder and he said to me, give me a couple of minutes. I think he made a phone call to Raymond Uren, Mr. Uren, the then principal of BD. That was 1973. No, Uren wasn't principal yet. It was Mr. Ricks. And to my good fortune, there was a post both for me and my brother, because we were both going to Western Cape. I got a post as a maths teacher at BD, and my brother Billy got a post as a geography and history teacher. And that's how I ended up at Bethelsdorp, you know. Somewhere in 1974, Mr. Uren, who had taken over as principal in 1974, January, called a staff meeting and told us, look, it's a new school, it needs a new name, it needs a badge, and all the, you know, goodies. And asked anyone who wants to volunteer to design a badge. I think there were probably about 3 or 4 submissions, and mine was one. This badge of Bethelsdorp is one of my prides. I actually designed this badge and presented it at a staff meeting, and you believe it or not, it was unanimously accepted, and it became the official badge of BD. So let me explain some of the symbolism in this badge. If you look at the badge, let me start with the bricks. The bricks actually symbolize a solid foundation in education, okay? And the red semicircle that you can see there symbolizes the rising sun and also hope for the future. Then the star in the middle there represents achievements, you know. The blue and red pillars on top, that symbolizes strength, you know, as in the pillars holding up. The cross represents faith in the school, in the teachers, in the students. Although it's a cross, I must emphasize this. I could have put a cross and a moon for that matter, because BD was definitely a very Christian and Muslim school, you know, and one needs to acknowledge that. But basically it's that sense of faith. If you look at the colors, even the colors are meant to have some symbolism, some meaning. The grey, for example, yeah, the grey over the foundation represents knowledge and wisdom. The white represents purity of thought, of purpose, of action. And the red represents hardship under apartheid, and courage and a fighting spirit. And the blue represents the sky and the universe. It represents hope for the future and limitless possibilities. So that's the symbolism. And if I recall correctly, that's the way I explained it, you know, and I remember the staff giving applause, you know, and you know. So that badge, you can actually say is legacy at BD. The Laboremus Futura, I chose that Latin expression specifically, you know, to sort of tease Raymond Uren, you know, as a Latin teacher. I think it's well known that it means laboremus, labor, work, futura, as in the future and so forth. So it's working or laboring for the future. That is what the the motto that I actually chose.
When I started my career, I sat with Mr. Uren one afternoon and he said, Mr. Arendse, Bethelsdorp is only a temporary structure. It's made out of wood and asbestos, and it's supposed to be for 15 years. And we are going to have the school only for the next few years. He retired, Mr. Peffer became the principal, Mr. Peffer retired, and still there was no school. The 30 years has passed, more than 30 years has passed, and I said to myself, well, Mr. Uren, under his leadership, he taught me a lot of, especially when you do things, you must have what they call a background, a trail. And so I started writing to the department about their promises, because I got some information in the office about this promise of a new school. And I escalated after a few months, no answer. I escalated to the province. After that, no satisfaction. I got into contact with National, Mrs. Hope Malgas. She was a teacher at Arcadia, and then she became a ANC Member of Parliament. And I said to Hope, Miss Malgas, please help us. And funny enough, in 2014, I received my first visit from the Department of Public Works. And Mr. Jacobus was also the deputy at that stage. And towards the end of the beginning of 2015, the number of engineers that came to the school, they will test the ground, because there were signs that the building was sagging. And I took photos, myself and Mr. Brenus, we took photos of the dilapidated state the school was in. The rain was basically at the back of the woodwork block, and the back block, because of the rain over the years, it looked bad. And of course, to my surprise, they announced that in 2016 they will start the new school, and true to the department's word, they started the school, and it was headlines, and I was so happy. Just a year later to hear, because of money constraints, they had to stop it, and so it was a stop-start from 2016, 2017. And when I retired, took early retirement in 2018, they were on a second contractor. But I'm so glad since 2016 and hopefully now 23, the new school will now be occupied, and it will mean a lot to the school, because the school has always been a beacon of hope for this community of Salt Lake, Van Vogel, Mission Vale, because that's where currently we draw most of our learners.
Good afternoon, everybody. As Mr. Arendse ended off, he said you must always remember that what you are today is because of this institution. And that I always say that I would not have been sitting here today, be in this office as principal today, if it was not for this school and its excellent teachers. Because I'm 62 this year, and I'm associated with this school for the past 47 years. Because my time at this school started in 1975, in that time as a grade standard 8 learner. Young boy, under Mr. Uren, and this school really made me. And so my entire life as a high school, this is the only school that I know, Bethelsdorp High School, later Bethelsdorp Comprehensive School. My second year as principal was the COVID year started. And those years, those 2 years, I think, if I look at this school in particular, put our learners so far behind, even further than 2 years that they have lost. Because if you take those 2 years, learners were here for less than a year. They were attending school because it's alternate. Every second they attend school. And many learners dropped out. We had the biggest dropout rate in those 2 years. In those 2 years, learners lost the skill of how to study. They really lost the skill of how to study. The matriculants now, they don't know how to study. They cannot prepare for an exam. They still live as if they're in those 2 years of COVID. What they do in school is that little bit. When they go home, I pack my books away. And it's still struggle. That's why I say our country and our community will still see the effects of COVID way for many, many years to come. We will still see the effects because our learners, and that is where the drug problems of learners increase so dramatically. Because every second day you am at home, I can do as please. Because no schoolwork happened. Parents are at work, so learners got together at certain houses and where they use their drugs. The school, not to be proud of, but the pass rates has dropped over the last, especially after the COVID years. But for the teachers moving over to the new school, I really would like to encourage. I really would like to say, think about the heritage of the school. Because I think if you think about the heritage, you will see that this school can once again be up there. And with that new building, and if teachers buy in to the heritage of the school and the culture that we come from, they can still take the school to new heights. And I always said to them, you know, there are people who were here, they got all the experience in the world. If you need something, you don't tap on the doors. I don't think Mr. Arends will ever say no if someone will go to him. Mr. Peffer will ever say no. The experience are there. Use the experience. Because we were here, we build up experience and we know exactly how things must be done. Not how things must be done, but we can guide you. Each one of us do things differently. But I really want to encourage the teachers who move up there, the new principal who move up there, to please ignite the legacy of one man, Mr. Raymond Huron. Because I think that man would have been proud of that new building. Because it was always his fight to have that new building. But he could not see it. Mr. Peffer could not see it. Mr. Arends could not move in there. I thought I will be moving to the new school. I will not even have that opportunity. But I hope that new building will be a beacon of hope for the community that this school is serving. And it certainly can be. And I know for a fact, one thing that Mr. Huron was adamant about is to have a technical subject at the school. But with the demise of the technical section, the break-ins, the section was closed down. But that section will now be revived with the new school. So hopefully the school will also cater now for those learners who are not academically inclined to go into that technical field. Because many of our learners, it's a fact, they are not academically inclined. But maybe in reintroducing the technical, those learners will also strive and be better people one day. But I really hope that that spirit of Bethelsdorp, the BD family, can be reignited in that new building. Thank you very much.
Hi BD family, I am Shyam Jappi, class of 1980. My BD story is a family affair. Let me introduce you to my sister Naid, who is also a BD alumni.
I'm Nahid, class of 1982. I'm the only family member still currently living in Port Elizabeth. I will be representing my family at the 50th anniversary celebrations. My younger sister is also a BD alumni.
Hi, I'm Khadija Jappi, class of 1983. I've been living in Cape Town for the past 33 years. I was the last of my siblings to attend BD. Last but not least, let me introduce you to our mom and ex-BD teacher, Fatima Jappi.
Hi BD family, I am Fatima Jappi. I am one of the teachers of a group that was transferred from South End High School to Bethelsdorp Senior Secondary School in the year 1972. I retired from Bethelsdorp Senior Secondary School at the end of 1977 to welcome a new member to my family. I would like to wish all BD teachers and learners a happy anniversary and celebrate their 50th anniversary to the best of their ability.
Good day, I'm Wilma Langson. I'm a diagnostic radiographer, an attorney of the High Court, a liquidator on the Masters Panel of Liquidators, and an entrepreneur currently involved in a citrus project in the Lower Sundays River Valley. I attended BD in the mid-80s when we were faced with so much disruption in education, and it was a constant struggle as we lost valuable hours of education due to protest action, and at BD this was no exception. We protested for months on end and made huge sacrifices as we played our part in the fight against apartheid. My advice to pupils today is to practice tenacity, remain humble and never give up on your goals. I would like to honor our educators at BD, both past and present, and today we remember all those educators and pupils who have gone before us. Stay safe and remember to follow me on TikTok.
I'm Tanya Kiston. I used to be Tanya Britton back in 1985 when I matriculated, and that was the difficult political year where we were more on the tarmac protesting and singing freedom songs than being in the class. And it was only due to our dedicated teachers at the time. Mr. Maud comes to mind, our maths teacher. Mrs. Nip comes to mind, she was our English teacher. Mr. Renz, who was our geography teacher, they really made sure that we got through. And then I remember it was because of Mr. Zinn, who was the history and PT teacher at the time, that he managed to procure a few places for those of us who qualified at Rhodes University for the following year. I'd like to wish the school a happy 50th anniversary. 50 years is not to be sneezed at. And a lot of really good students have come out of BD. So all the best, and here's to another 50 years.
Assalamu alaikum. I am Khadija Laye, class of 1981. In 2014, we established a group. We called ourselves the BD 50 Plus, as we were all 50 years old and above. 2015, we established our alumni, which fell through in 2018-2019. We were only left with 5 active members: Latifa Penihan, myself, Khadija, Jenny Dampis, Mario Williams, and Alston Benjamin. We are appealing to all our ex-learners to join us to revive our alumni so that we can be a successful alumni who will be assisting our school going forward. We need to put back and give back to our school. I'm appealing to all, please make contact with one of us. We will be having a register and you can leave your details with us and we'll make contact with you, or you could make contact with us. Thank you everybody. Enjoy the rest of the evening.
Morning, my name is Dorian Barches. I come from a humble working class family from an area called Arcadia in the northern areas. I matriculated in 1979 after repeating grade 11 or standard 9 back in the days. My perception at school at that point in time was rugby, athletics and girls. I went to the University of the Western Cape after matriculating and achieved a bachelor's degree, and I did my post-degree qualifications at the University of South Africa, or UNISA. Today, I'm one of 4 deputy principals at the Port Elizabeth TVET College. So in closing, I want to encourage all learners enrolled at the Bethelsdorp Senior Secondary School to pursue their goals in life. No matter your obstacles, your circumstances, or where you find yourself in, put all effort in your studies and you will become successful. Everything of the best for 2022.
Hi there, I'm Rob Armstrong, Director, Owner of iTech Wild Coast, an office automation company based in Umtata, servicing the east of the Eastern Cape and the Wild Coast areas. We are one of 57 independent iTech dealers in and around South Africa, and we've been trading here since 1997. Just a little about myself. I was born in Southend, Port Elizabeth, and in the 60s we were forcefully moved to the northern areas due to the Group Areas Act. There I attended primary school at Machu and went on to Bethelsdorp High School, and it is here that I cemented my educational foundation. I will always be grateful to the school, the educators, and everyone that led to my success. Advice to the young students is that discipline, education, and hard work goes together to achieve your goals.
Hey there, South Africa, Bethelsdorp High School, 1981 to 1984, where I was formed. I want to say happy 50th birthday all the way from California, Angkor High School for the Performing and Visual Arts, where I am the school principal. I'm excited to share my journey with you because Bethelsdorp High School is where it all began. I want to give a huge shout out to all my teachers back at BD during the 80s who taught us the value of education. When people were shouting liberation before education, our teachers were saying education before liberation, because the liberation movement did not need illiterates to take the lead. So all teachers past and present had an impact on all of our lives at Bethelsdorp High School out in Salt Lake. I am in America today, but I would never ever have made it this far if it wasn't for all the teachers which I had, starting in Standard 7 all the way to Matric. So once again, thank you so much to all our teachers back then and the teachers that are there right now. To all our students currently at Bethelsdorp High and the kids in my neighborhood in the northern areas of Port Elizabeth, let me tell you, your postal code, the 6020 or the 6059, does not determine where you end up. Believe in yourself, believe in possibilities, dream big, and it will all happen. So, let me say one last time,
Happy anniversary, BD!
50 plus, man!